So first of all, thank you for joining me and taking the time out of what I'm sure is a crazy busy schedule. Whenever I talk to folks these days, because 2020 is a year that just keeps on giving, I like to do a wellness
Yeah.
check first and just kind of check in and see how you're doing. So how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm tired after the earthquake that hit this morning.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't get back to sleep after that. So up since 4:30.
Yeah, everybody's been kind of on an early day and just kind of
Yeah,
just going with it because like I said, 2020 keeps delivering the hits. So yeah.
that's right. That's right.
Since we're here to talk about the new Starfinder game, I guess game is a good way to put it, but it's kind of an interesting, interactive, immersive experience. But before we get into all the kind of nitty gritty of that, how did the opportunity to work on Starfinder come to you in the first place?
They contacted me directly, well, through my agent, and asked if I would be willing to come on board, and they kind of told me what the premise was and told me it was based on Starfinder RPG, and it sounded awesome. It's just such a unique experience and such a different recording process than I've done before, and I was very intrigued and excited to come on board for it.
Were you familiar with the Starfinder like IP or the sort of tabletop game or any of that before getting this first contact?
I had heard about the tabletop game because I had played Pathfinder.
Right.
And I didn't know too much about it, but having done more recording on this, now I really want to dive into tabletop RPG as well and get to explore the world in
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
way. It
Yeah,
seems so fun.
I checked out the pilot to kind of immerse myself a little bit, and there was just so much more than I expected. And then I dug
Right?
into, the wikis and all that, and was just like, wow, there's quite a bit here to tackle.
Yeah. But what's great about it is that, it doesn't have to be that. It can be an easy thing to just pick up and have fun with. And then if you're like super interested, then you can dive into the world even further. It's a cool.
Yeah, it wasn't overwhelming at all. Like I got into the pilot, and it was very easy to take you through the process. It was very easy to get into the story, and it made me just want to like discover and learn more, and even go back and play it again from a different perspective, or have somebody else make the decisions. It was really cool to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Now,
excited about it.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's just kind of like at the heart of RPGs and why people love them, why they've been around for so long, and why people continue to play them and make their own. So as obviously a veteran RPG player yourself, what was it about Starfinder that what was your opinion? What made it stand out to you?
Well, I just, especially lately, because of Critical Role, I've just become such a fan of, theater of the mind
Mm-hmm.
and that aspect of it. I've always loved, just books in general, just because it opened the door to that creativity, and you can envision things however you want to as you're going through it. And it was such a cool idea to take a crossover of an audiobook and turn it into an interactive experience that I just had to be a part of it.
Is there anything about the story itself or this kind of blending of fantasy and sci-fi, that stands out to you? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but I love the idea that I got to play an android who, has the full gambit of emotions and is struggling with her place in the world. It's just, yeah, it was a really interesting character.
So maybe take a step back a little bit, and maybe what can you introduce viewers about your character? What can you tease about it? Yeah, yeah.
I play Clara 247. She's an android mercenary. When you first meet her, she's brash. She's got her walls up, and she's just a really kick butt, tough adversary. And through the game, through the story, you get to know more about her and really understand that her motivations behind like why she's doing what she is, and the fact that she really wants more out of life, and she wants to see herself be more than just a mercenary. She wants to be a hero, which is a really cool thing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but your character is one of the sort of companion characters that would go along with the player on their adventures. Is that correct?
That is correct. So yeah, you get to have more or less interactions with my character depending on how you want to play it, and maybe a little flirtation.
Well, that's a good tease for our listeners out there. You mentioned that this was a different kind of experience than what you've done before as far as recording or mocap or voice performance or voice acting. So what was different about recording for this project?
It's just done in such a unique way. It's so intimate the way we record it, because of COVID, because we aren't able to go into the studio for this. I record from home, and it's just very personal when we're recording together. And we'll record with one of the other actors on the line as well, whoever's in the scenes with us. So we'll get to run through each bit of dialogue together, back and forth. We record together, so the dialogue that we do is very connected, Yeah. But the cool thing about this is, for every single branch in gameplay, we'll go back and we'll do the scene again, and maybe only a couple lines have changed, but depending on how it's chosen, all of those performances or deliveries can change because of it. It's just really unique. It's just so different.
That's really cool, because there is that kind of, it's a in between of an interactive special that you get to kind of control what happens next, but you have, it's a stellar voice cast, yourself obviously included, that you feel like you get to participate in like a full-on professional production of it too. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's very immersive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of scrubbed this question earlier, because usually when I talk to folks known for voice acting, rarely do you get to kind of like actually act beside your co-stars, especially these days in COVID cases. But it's pretty cool that you got to actually interact with folks who were in your scene. So can you maybe tease some of your co-stars who you got to work with on this project?
Well, I'm about to start recording with Nathan Fillion, which
Nice.
I'm very excited about. I worked with him a little bit on Halo 5, and he's so talented. So yeah, I'm excited to get to hear more of his stuff.
And can you tease maybe what his part to play is in the story?
Oh, I don't want to give anything away.
Fair enough. I'm sure we'll recognize his voice as soon as we hear it too, just like
yours. Oh, you will. It's Nathan. You'll recognize him.
Love it. This is kind of a broader question for you in your career, but you've got hundreds of roles in your filmography. I mean, just one kind of iconic character after another. So how do you keep them unique? Or when you approach a new character kind of like this, who's never been voiced before, there's no kind of precedent for it. How do you find that voice for a specific character?
It depends. It's not necessarily that I'm looking for a unique voice print, because there's only so many things that my voice can do, and having done this for far too long, I probably found all of those nuances. But finding each character's approach to things, and everybody's going to approach things differently and have different motivations. So you could have the same bit of dialogue, but depending on what character you're doing, they're gonna say it differently, and they're gonna feel differently as they're saying it. So it's just a matter of like finding that and finding their personality in that way, I think makes each character unique.
And then speaking about kind of finding that voice and going back into the booth for a second, what was your kind of experience like with the voice director and casting director on this versus, sitting down with the Critical Role team and having Matt kind of GM everything? What was the kind of interplay there?
I mean, that's a very different experience, right? Because with Critical Role, we're making it up on the fly, so everything can go sideways very quickly. It's so different when you're doing dialogue that has already been scripted and where the story is going. However, with this, I haven't finished recording on it. We're still doing things, so I don't know where the story is fully going. I just know just a little bit beforehand what my character's about to do. So everything is super new for me as I'm experiencing it too, which is fun.
Speaking of going sideways, when I was playing through the pilot, you have the option of either rolling, a D20 yourself, be it physical, be it on a program, or you can have Alexa do it for you, which I thought was really nice for me being super lazy and let her do everything. Until I get, a critical fail just trying to climb across something and see how that plays out, or a critical success when, doing something awesome. So it's really cool to see that kind of flexibility. Yeah. And kind of variety of
reactions. It feels like successful. Yeah.
Or terrible. Oh, yeah. Man. At the same time.
That's tough. I don't know if I'm going to want to do it physically. I think I might have to have my dice in my hand for this.
You can always just tell her, Alexa, I rolled a 20 just every time, and just see, just be a super good as you walk through it. Yeah.
Alexa, I'm amazing.
Exactly. And she'll believe it. Now, okay, so we mentioned, on launch day, we have 3 new episodes. So that'll be new to me as well and new to, all our fans out there. But then in October, we get 3 additional episodes that are coming out about that. But you said you're
That's
not,
right.
you're not done with your recording yet. So what can you tease about the story so far and maybe the journey that your mercenary bot gets to take in Starfinder?
Oh man. Without giving too much away. You just through different conversations, you get to find out why she is who she is and how she came to be that. And it's just such a cool way to approach androids in a sci-fi setting that I found really interesting. Oh gosh, I don't want to give too much away. I just always say, search everything, because you never know what kind of loot you're going to find, and that's one of the most fun things for me, is what kind of treasure can I get.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's super fun in this game too, because you'll make a decision that you think is just, a one-off. You have a conversation or you check out a noise over in this corner, and then you get an achievement, you get a reward, you get loot.
Exactly.
I love that addition.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now,
and I love that you don't have to do that in the gameplay. You can just experience the story, and you don't have to explore everything.
And then speaking of that story, there's so many kind of twists and turns and avenues that it can take. Was that difficult for you guys in the booth, keeping that straight? Did you follow one dialogue tree, or like you said, you just did multiple different takes at branching paths? Because that's tough to keep all that's branching in.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You kind of, it depends on, how far in the branch it went, but a lot of times it'll be, like when I first started recording on it, before I understood fully how everything was working, there were a lot of times where I was like, oh, I already did this line. Oh, we already did this part. And they're like, actually, there's a little bit of a difference because of how the player could have acted. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, we'll either, sometimes it'll be like one after the other. We'll do like little scenes over and over again. And then other times it'll be like, oh, okay, here's a little part of the story that would have happened if you did this. Now we're in this room. Let's record that.
Yeah, just those little nuance changes in story and decisions that the player gets to make. And it's got great replay, because you can play as a different type of character, make completely crazy decisions. Yeah.
And your interactions will be different. Yeah.
So without teasing, I guess, what happens to your character or the journey they take, what do you hope that fans of your character in particular get out of the experience playing alongside you?
Oh, man. I just hope they get to play pretend for a little bit. I think that's something that we as adults don't get to do enough of. So yeah, just a little reprieve from whatever is happening in the world, and just get to play a little bit.
Absolutely. Okay, so my last question for you today, you've got a busy schedule kind of coming up ahead, which includes Starfinder and the episodes that are coming out this fall. But what can you tease about maybe some future projects that you're working on?
The Avengers game is releasing soon, and I'm very excited to be Black Widow in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that should be really exciting. And we're doing more Critical Role, always. So the story is taking some crazy turns right now, and beyond that, we're working on the animated series, The Legend of Vox Machina, with Amazon. So I cannot wait for the release of that. We're so excited to get to see our characters come to life in that way. It's just a dream come true.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a fan myself, looking forward to that. Looking forward to checking out the Avengers game, which is kind of in beta all month. So we get a little tease of that before the great release in September. And then, more Laura Bailey in the fall with more episodes of Starfinder coming out. So it should be a pretty good rest of 2020, assuming everything else starts to kind of shape up a little bit.
Assuming the world survives.
Yeah. Exactly. So thank you so much again for your time today. Really do appreciate it. And best of luck with the launch.
Thank you so much.